Welcome everyone. Happy Monday. We are back streaming live on social media and it is Monday. I hope you have had a fabulous Monday. If this is the start to your week, I hope you've had a great start to your week. I certainly have. It's a little cloudy here today in San Diego. So just enjoying some nice cozy weather. I know I saw over the weekend some of you guys in the States actually got snow. How is that possible? Anyway, welcome to another live edition of the F Words of Life. My name is Brenda Reynolds, and this is the F Words of Life, and I'm super excited that you're joining me, whether it is live or you are joining on the replay. I love that you are watching the replays. I'm seeing the comments, and if you're not commenting, please comment. Let me know that you're there, even if you only watched for a few minutes. What did you get out of it? What did you take away? What's keeping you, inspired to show up? Because that's really what this show, if you will, this live show that you get to watch on the replays as well, is all about. It's about coaching, training, inspiration, motivation, accountability, in terms of you living your best life, right? You becoming the person that you truly were meant to become. And as such, live the life that you deserve to live. And so it is Monday, and it is week 4 of the F Words Reset experience. So if you've been following along and taking part in the daily coaching, I certainly appreciate your time and your commitment to yourself. If you haven't and you're just joining us today for the very first time, we are on week 4 of a 4-week process. So welcome. You're not too late to join the party. If you'd like to download the F Words Reset guidebook, you can do so at thefwordsoflife.com/FWordsReset. So whether you're watching this today, tomorrow, 6 months from now, 6 years from now, that resource is available to you. And it's a 14-page, absolutely free guidebook that you can download and follow along. And what we did in week 1, quick recap, just to get us all our barometer set for this week in terms of where we're going. Week 1, we really took a look at where you are right now. And so we did an assessment. We really looked at, where you've been the past few months and where you're at right now. And then in week 2, we really started looking at where you want to go. So we looked at your vision, and we created a 10-year vision. We looked at your realities, the 10 statements that need to come true. You created those so that you can reach that vision. And then ultimately we boiled that down to one specific goal. Now, week 3, which was last week, was all about mindset and beliefs. And so with mindset and beliefs, we really broke down the different types of mindsets that you need around success, as well as your current belief system. And many of those belief systems are limiting beliefs. So potentially what could be holding you back, and how a process on how to actually go about flipping that script. How do we actually take our limiting beliefs and shift them into empowering beliefs? And so all of this has kind of been a structure that I created that is the pyramid of success, our formula for success. And so, like I said, we focused on establishing a foundation of vision and goals. Last week, we focused on mindset and beliefs, and these are stacking on top of each other intentionally. And this week, what we're going to focus on is we're going to focus on actions and habits. All of that leading us to this success or failure at the top. And then we can go back and we can actually replicate this over and over and over for you. And this is in the workbook if you haven't downloaded the guidebook. So this week, week 4, our agenda is actions and habits, and specifically focusing on habits. So let's just jump right in. Why are habits important? Well, last week when we were talking about beliefs, one of the things that we talked about was autopilot thinking. And autopilot thinking is a very positive thing. You wake up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you grab your toothbrush with whichever hand you brush your teeth with. You don't even think about it, right? You brush your teeth, you take your shower, you go through your morning ritual and routine, most of the time at a very unconscious level. What that allows you to do is it allows you to think about other things, it allows you to focus on other things. And so anything that we can have on autopilot, it actually opens up our conscious space in our brain so that you can do something with that conscious space, because we can only do so much consciously before it reaches maximum capacity. So the more you can program at a subconscious and unconscious level, the better. The challenge with that is we have good things at that unconscious level and we have bad things. So we have our limiting beliefs, which are bad, and we're reprogramming that to have subconscious empowering beliefs. It's the same thing with your actions and habits. You currently have really positive autopilot habits that you do, and you also have negative habits. We all do, right? Negative patterns of behavior. And so the more that we can create positive habits and rituals in your day, the more we can automate things so you can focus on new things. Now, here's the challenge that I found in 15 plus years of coaching and all the years of studying that I've done, all the books that I've read, all the research, but especially working one-on-one with students and doing coaching, is people want the magic pill. They want the instant gratification. They want the get rich quick, right? The lose 50 pounds overnight. We underestimate a 1% improvement each day. We way overestimate these, big defining moments that hey, this is the end result, right? We put way too much weight on that instead of focusing on the teeny tiny, what feels like baby steps, feels like you're not going anywhere, mindset that actually, if you focus on small incremental change and improvements over time, that's where the magic lives. That's where true change happens. That's where true success lives. And that comes from your habits. I use the word rituals a lot. It comes from the rituals you do every day. If you didn't take the 2 minutes every day to brush your teeth in the morning and at night, would you have healthy teeth, right? And so good habits you can see incrementally done every day, that leads to great, teeth and gum health. If you didn't do that one time, are you suddenly going to be filled with cavities? No, of course not. But if you stop brushing your teeth 2 years from now, what is the health of your mouth going to be, right? Kind of gross to think about, but it's true. But it's that tiny little action every single day done consistently over time where the extraordinary happens. So I read a lot, as you guys know. I listen to a lot of podcasts and videos and go to courses and trainings and everything like that as part of my education. But also that's what I do, is I learn a lot and then bring that to you and synthesize it. So a lot of the ideas I'm going to talk about today, I do want to cite the book Atomic Habits. If you haven't read it, it's excellent. If you really want to dive into understanding how to change your habits, we're going to talk about that this week on this live broadcast. However, I can't go through, a 300-page book in 30 minutes, right? And so I'm going to bring you snapshots of things that I learned from him. The author is James Clear, things and examples that I've learned over time of coaching and in my own personal growth and development. So a habit essentially is something that it's a routine or a practice that you do regularly, and oftentimes it's done subconsciously. And he gave a great example in a book talking about how 1 degree of change or just a couple of degrees of change can make all the difference in the world. And the example he gave was if you got on a plane in LA, on the West Coast, San Diego, and you were going to fly to New York, okay? But his example was LA, so we'll use LA. So you get in a plane in LA, and your destination is New York City. And I want to quote, he said he had the pilot, let's theoretically, we're going to have the pilot change the trajectory in LA, not mid-course, in LA. Instead of the trajectory directly to New York, we're just going to change it 3.5 degrees south. 3.5 degrees south, okay? Doesn't seem like that much, right? Now, if you stay on that heading, instead of landing in New York, you will land in Washington, D.C. by only changing 3.5 degrees at the beginning. So think about this in your life, right? We start here and we want to get here, and yet we slightly start off course and we go this way. Now that can be a positive thing. So if we start working out every single day, right, it changes our trajectory. But the same thing with bad habits. If we're not doing the good things that will get us to success, we start going the opposite direction and drifting. And this is why I believe in coaching and accountability and showing up, because if you're drifting, you need to catch yourself before you drift too far off course. Okay, so your success is going to be found in these daily habits and practices. And remember, in the F words of life, we've got 7 F words of life. We've got 7 areas. So there's 7 different areas where you could be drifting, where you could have really good habits in certain areas and really be challenged and have not so good habits in others. So what we want to focus on is, instead of your current results, right? Here's what I want to say to you. If you look at your current results and you go, see, Brenda, you know, I have these habits and and I tried to do this one thing, but I ended up still back here. You're right, because where you are right now is the result of all of your past actions up to this point. What I want you focused on, just like the airplane, is the trajectory going forward. If you want your life to be exactly the same as it is today, or in a worse state, then keep doing exactly what you're doing. However, if you want better results, all we have to do is change the trajectory 1 or 2 degrees every day. And again, remember last week and the week before, I talked about we can only focus really on 1 or 2 things at a time. So this isn't about taking on 50 new habits overnight. This is about small incremental change, and we're going to talk later this week. I'm not sure if it's tomorrow or Wednesday. We're going to talk about habit stacking and how that's a skill and a way that you can change your habits. But today, what I want to talk about is how your daily habits compound, and also specifically what growth really looks like. Because the compounding effect of your habits is really what leads to success. Okay, your habits are what compound and lead to success. And you know, what does success really look like? What does growth really look like? How do we get there? Well, you decide that you want to do something, right? You decide you want to run a marathon, or you decide you want to, let's say, lose 20 pounds, because that's something we can all, you know, understand, right? I want to lose 20 pounds. And you change what you're eating and you start running or you start walking, and you do that for 2 or 3 or 4 days and you don't see any results, right? And that's where most people go and they fall off, because they're not seeing a result. And the true thing is when you are growing, whether you're growing a business, you're growing yourself, you're growing your bank account, you're growing your fitness, you're going to have these things called plateaus. And in the beginning, you start on a plateau, which means completely flat. Right? That's what a plateau is. It's completely flat. We expect to start doing actions and start seeing growth, right? I don't have anything I can write on, but if I did, I'd be writing on it and showing you, right? We expect the graph to go like this, and meanwhile, it's just a flat line. That's that plateau. But what happens is you work, you put the work in, and it's not that the work isn't doing anything. It's like it's stacking up, right? It's creating momentum. On that flat line, there's something happening behind the work. And what happens is when you stack enough of that together, you hit a breakthrough moment. And then the graph goes up a little bit. And then you know what happens? You plateau again. And so becoming somebody who wants to have success in every area of your life means you have to sustain through the plateaus. When somebody says, look at them, they're an overnight success. Man, you don't know how many years, days, nights, weekends, hours, right, went into that overnight success, because all you see is the peak. You don't see the months and the years of the flatline plateau that person pushed through. You yourself have had experiences with this. I know you have, because you've all had growth in certain areas. Think back. When did you have that big breakthrough? What was all the work that led up to it? When I first started coaching, I coached for a company, it's a great company, and I coached specifically real estate agents. And the company had a system that they taught the agents on how to proactively work by referral. And it was a system. It was a series of activities that the realtor must do every single day. And it involved, you know, face-to-face, person-to-person, voice-to-voice, all types of different contacts to grow the relationships. And I would see people get frustrated because it was like, man, it's not happening. I didn't get the $1 million listing. I don't have, 4 houses that I'm selling right now. It wasn't instantaneous. It was like planting a garden. So if you plant the garden and you toil you you do what you need to do, and you water it, and you put fertilizer on it, right? You see nothing, 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 nothing. The system was the same way. And I so knew that the system worked as just as a planting a carrot seed sprouted a carrot. The same thing with this system. If you followed the system every single day, you would eventually get that peak. So I used to always describe it that way. You're going to plateau, and you've got to push forward again, and then you're going to see growth. You're going to see results. You're going to get those things that you want, the results, right? But we're so focused on the results that we forget about the process or the system or how we need to get there. And again, that one choice today added up over and over and over and over, day after day after day, whether it's a good choice or a bad choice, is going to be where you land your trajectory, right? A year from now, 5 years from now. So if you want that to change, you have to start changing the behavior now. And you have to persist long enough to break through that plateau. I wrote a couple of notes down, so I'm looking down to make sure I'm not missing anything. I don't know how much we're going to get through today, because I try to keep these at 30 minutes, but we might go a little long today because I have a lot I want to share with you. So we've got to get to that critical threshold, right? And hit that breakthrough. Now, there's layers behind behavioral change, because that's what we're really talking about, right? If we're talking about habits, we're talking about changing our behavior. Now, last week, we talked a lot about changing our belief systems. And I said to you, the reason we were focusing on mindset and beliefs before we focused on actions or habits is because if your mindset isn't aligned with the actions you're doing, if you're just focused on changing the action, it's not going to happen. Well, in this book that I mentioned, Atomic Habits by James Clear, he goes through this and cites multiple scientific studies, other books that are read, and his model that he uses is he talks about behavioral change in this way. And I really liked it. It's really simple. It's really easy for you to understand and grasp, okay? And we're going to tie this to your beliefs in a second. So you're going to see more pieces of the puzzle suddenly come together and go, oh, that's how they fit together, okay? So most of us think, okay, I want to change this outcome or result, right? I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to make more money and have more money in my bank account, right? We think of a specific result or an outcome. And then we think, well, what do I need to do to get there, right? That's the process. That's the habit. That's the daily practice or the weekly practice that you're going to need to get there. Okay, well, if I want to lose 20 pounds, I need to run 5 miles a day, whatever your process is, right? And then we think about, okay, well, who am I and how does that affect me? So if you think of this kind of as circles, and this is the diagram in his book, at the core we have your identity and your beliefs. Outside that, we have the process, and outside that, we have the actual outcome. And most of the time, we're thinking, well, if I lose 20 pounds because I start running, then it's going to make me this type of person, right? It's going to make me an athlete. It's going to make me skinny. It's going to make me feel better about myself. It's going to make me more confident. It's going to make me better to date, whatever the case may be, right? It's going to make me this type of person. And when you go from the outside in that way, the likelihood of the habit sticking is way low. And this is why most people fail when they're trying to change their behavior. A much better model and much more sustainable and just successful model is to go from the inside out. So we look first at who are you? What is your identity? What are the beliefs about yourself? Okay? And who do you want to become? Now, this is the key. This ties back to when we wrote the vision statement. We wrote your realities. Last week, breaking through and identifying some of the limiting beliefs that you have. This ties it all together, okay? Because we still have to do all of that process, and this is kind of the culminating piece into leading to changing our actions. It's asking yourself, who do I want to become? Because if your behavior or the behavior you're trying to adopt is incongruent with the person you believe yourself to be, the behavior won't stick. This is why mindset and the beliefs are so important. And like I said, he goes through this in the book. If you want to read the book, I encourage you to do so. The reason I go out and read the books and try to bring as much of this to you in this form is so that you can get this more in a bite-sized, snack-sized piece. You can hear it, you can just listen to it on the audio, you can watch the video, whatever it may be, but I do highly recommend the book. And like I said, I'm trying to cite him as much as possible because I did pull a lot of things as I was prepping for today's training from his book. And he got that, like I said, this is, you know, psychology 101. This isn't something that's brand new and revolutionary. James Clear he distilled it down into this way. And I like this because I told you all last week, if your belief systems don't match up with what you're trying to do or what the result you're trying to get, you will sabotage yourself. Your reticular activator, remember we talked about that last week. It's looking for proof that lines up with the core of who you are. His book echoes this 1000%, which I love. And basically, your old identity or your current identity will start sabotaging any new behavior. So we have to start from the inside out. I hope that's making sense. I hope that's resonating with you. I hope this is clicking, because this, my friends, this is the thing that literally could change your life forever. Okay, this is what's holding you back from making the lifestyle changes that you want. And here's what you can do about it. So we're going to get into solutions, if you will, here in just a second. I want to give you an example, a couple of examples. So behavior that is incongruent with who you are, like I said, it won't last, it won't stick. Have you ever seen, everybody wants the same things, by the way, right? We all, especially if we're in the United States, in the UK, Canada, right? I mean, we want similar things. We want more money, we want better health, we want better relationships. So those are all in the F words of life, right? All 7 areas of life, we want similar things, maybe different amounts in different ways, but we want at the core similar things. So our goals aren't that different. What makes the difference? Well, let's take the person who wants more money, wants more money, wants more money. And their system of going about that is playing the lottery. Do people win the lottery? Yes. Are the odds against you? Yes. But do people win? And suddenly they win $20 million, right? An astronomical amount of money if you have never had more than 20,000 in your bank account. Or maybe you've never had more than 2,000 in your bank account, and now you have $20 million. So this person's set for life, right? They've now had, they have the result, right, that we talked about. They've created the result. Now all they have to do is manage the money, and everything's going to be great. Their life is going to become what they've always wanted. Have you ever heard the stories about how many people who win the lottery within a certain amount of time go bankrupt? Which it's, I mean, it's mind-blowing, right? It's like, how, if you gave me $20 million today, Brenda, I would never go bankrupt. Well, here's the thing that I believe, and all the science and research matches up with this. The person hasn't yet become the person who their actions and their belief system matches up with having that amount of money. So what happens? They sabotage, not consciously, but unconsciously. Our brain works against us because we haven't developed the habits and the character and the belief and who we are to be that millionaire. Right? That's not the mindset that we have, and therefore they end up losing it. Same thing. Somebody wants to lose weight and either does it in a way where they lose weight extremely quickly. So they lose 50 pounds, you know, on some fad diet, maybe even have surgery, which I'm not against. There are certainly health reasons to have a surgery. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not judging anything. What I'm saying is suddenly your entire body changes, but you haven't changed what's in here. Maybe you've always thought of yourself as a big girl, right? I've always been big. I've always been bigger than everybody else. I've never been a skinny person. I've never been that healthy. I've never had that much energy. I've always been a big girl. And then suddenly you're down 50 pounds. But you didn't change the beliefs and the identity. So what happens over time? We end up putting the weight back on because it's not about the weight. We haven't changed the identity from the inside out. And so same thing, I used to bite my nails. Simple example. I used to bite my nails. And I hated it. I hated the way that it looked. You know, and I was bad. I'd get it all the way down to the quick. This was when I was a kid. It was a nervous habit. And then as I became, you know, a teenager and in college, I just really wanted to stop biting my nails. And it was somewhere in my early 20s, maybe around 23, 24, that just by sheer will, which is not usually the way to change anything, but sometimes you just got to grit it out, right? I let my nails grow a little bit. I managed to get a few of them to grow out. And I'm not talking about long. I'm just talking about a little bit. And I got a manicure for the first time. And then what I started doing, my thing was I literally, and still to this day, I have nail files. I have one on my desk, I have one on my coffee table, I have one in my car, and then I usually have one in either my backpack, purse, whatever I'm carrying with me. Because what I found is as they started growing a little bit, I got happy. I was proud of how they looked. So I wanted to maintain them. And I found that if I filed them every day and I didn't get the little hangnail, because my thing was if I got a hangnail, it was in my mouth and I couldn't stop until it was down to the quick, right? But I found that, by every day, if I just filed a little bit, if I cleaned them, I kept them nice, then I didn't want to bite them, right? Because I had a sense of pride. My identity, instead of being a nail biter, I was somebody that had nice nails. Now, my nails have never been super long or anything like that, but they're nice and they're clean and they've got a little bit of length, and I still do this to this day, and so I start taking pride. My system that I found was using the nail file everywhere I went, because as soon as I got that hangnail, I had to file it down just a little bit so I wouldn't put it in my mouth, okay? But the identity from the inside out was I was no longer a nail biter. So my behavior started to match up with that. I hope that makes sense. I wanted to give you just a really simple example. He uses the example in a book about a friend of his that was a nail biter, and it triggered mine. So I was like, I did that exact same thing. All right. So the more pride that you have in your identity, as simple as it is, I'm not a nail biter, right? Because I hated it. I was embarrassed by it. It was really shameful for me to be a nail biter. Now I have pride in it. And when you have pride in it, not in a negative way, right? But I'm proud of myself. I'm proud that I have this new identity. Then your actions, you are going to go out of your way to make sure that your actions match up to that. If you're somebody that says, I'm an athlete, then every day you're going to find ways for your actions to match up. You work on your biceps and you got great biceps and you're proud of that. You're going to find a way to continue that action because it reinforces that identity. All right, you tracking with me? So the more, this is what I wrote down. The more pride you have in an aspect of your identity, the more motivated you'll be to maintain the habits associated. Now listen, I use the word motivated. The more motivated you'll be. Now here's the difference. Now it's an intrinsic motivation, not an extrinsic motivation, meaning it's not something on the outside that I get to get. It's on the inside driving me forward, and that's the most powerful motivation. All right? So your true behavior change comes from a change in your identity. Instead of just saying a goal of, I want to read a book, I want to run a marathon, I want to play the guitar, right? These are all the result, right? Remember when we talked about result, process, identity, right in the middle of our bullseye, right? Our dartboard. Those are all the results. The identity is, I want to become a reader. I want to become a runner or an athlete. I want to become a musician. Now it's part of your identity. I want to become an artist. I want to become a writer. This is who I am at my core. Excuse me. So when you start believing that particular aspect and you start reprogramming your brain, then your behavior, like I said, is in alignment with it. Now it works the opposite way. Last week we talked about limiting beliefs. Okay. We probably have about, I might have to do part 2 tomorrow. I got more notes. All right. You know what? We'll keep going. Hopefully you're digging this, you're getting it. But it's last week we talked about limiting beliefs, okay? And we talked about how those, they reinforce who we think we are and they stop us from doing things. It's the same thing we're talking about here. So at your identity, you have things that you have adopted as part of your identity that have been ingrained in you for 20 years. 30 years, 40 years. This is not a fast solution, but it is a doable solution. It is a gradual process, but first you have to be aware of what it is you're saying to yourself. So if you have a belief system that you never remember anybody's names, right? I can never remember anybody's names. This is a belief that you now blindly follow. Just because maybe a couple of times you forgot somebody's names, maybe somebody teased you about it and said your memory was horrible. Oh, I have a horrible memory. I hear people say that and I cringe. I'm like, who told you this? Why are you buying into this BS, right? You can train your brain to have a better memory. I'm always late. Do you have to be? Like what makes you different than the person who's always on time? Your identity. You've now identified as a person that's always late. I'm terrible with directions. That's an identity you've adopted. So the double-edged sword is these identities. Now, if you always are telling yourself, I never remember anybody's names, what's the likelihood that you're going to remember people's names, or that you're going to create a system around that? Or if you create the system, if you're at your core belief, you always believe that you're bad with names, it's going to be challenging to change. So you have to shift from the inside out. So again, last week we talked about the reticular activator. The week before that, we talked about cognitive dissonance. All of this goes into this. We will find ways to avoid contradicting the core belief that we have inside. So if the core belief is something negative, like I'm not good at blank, I'm horrible at blank, right? I'm not a morning person, whatever it is, then our behaviors, if they contradict it, like I said, it just becomes this battle. So I get very passionate about this because I believe in this so much. And like I said, the research and the science backs this up. This isn't some woo-woo stuff, okay? So even if you've identified, hey, this is a good habit, if it goes against your current belief systems, the likelihood of you succeeding long-term over time is very low. Okay, so becoming the best version of yourself, which is what this is, that's what the FWORDS of life is all about. Becoming the best version of yourself in every area of your life, all 7 FWORDS of life, so that you can live your best life, so that you can be the best significant other, partner, spouse, the best mom, dad, uncle, aunt, grandson, granddaughter, whatever it may be, sister, brother, business owner, employee, community leader. It's when you are living your best version of yourself, you make everybody else around you better. You raise the level of everything globally. I believe that. There's a ripple effect that happens. And so to become the best version of yourself, you have to keep editing. You have to keep upgrading. You have to keep evolving. How do we do that? How do we expand the identity? Okay? Here's how we do it, okay? So now we're to the how-to. So I'm not going to break this into 2 parts. I'm going to try to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes or so if I can. All right, we'll see how well I do. But I didn't want to cheat you out of time on this one, because this is like I said, this brings together, hopefully you're seeing, if you've watched the previous trainings, this is bringing it all together into how you can change tangible actions moving forward. And today's not the last day we're going to talk about habits. Remember, all week we're talking about habits and actions. And if you haven't watched the previous trainings, you can go to Facebook, facebook.com/the-FWORDS-of-life. All of the replays are there. On Instagram, they only stay up for 24 hours. So Facebook is where your library is. You can go back and rewatch them. You can share these with friends. I encourage you to share these. You can send them in Messenger. You can share them on your Facebook page. It's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for you who is showing up, and I'm proud of you for showing up. So let's talk about how we change our identity, okay? Now, for every action you take, now this came from the book too, Atomic Habits, okay? And I like the Atomic Habits. What I liked is he made this very visual, and I believe we're visual thinkers, even if you think you're not. We think in pictures, and so I really liked the way that he described this. Every action that you take is like a vote towards or against the identity that you believe. Okay, now what do I mean by that? It's a vote for the person, the type of person you want to become. The more evidence or proof that you have for that belief, the more you're going to believe it, right? The stronger the belief comes. So if we can create more evidence, if we can create more proof, and while we're affirming who we want to become and who we are as if it's already true, now the actions start lining up for that. So let's say I say, I am a healthy person. I'm a healthy, fit person. What would a healthy and fit person do? Well, they're going to eat green stuff, right? They're not going to eat McDonald's every day, let's say. Sorry, McDonald's, you are my downfall. I love your French fries. But, if you eat McDonald's every day versus if you eat a salad every day, are we going to have a different trajectory and result at the end of a year or 5 years or 10 years? Very much so. So you see that. Now, if I eat a McDonald's hamburger every day and I'm telling myself that I believe I'm a healthy and fit person, that action's not lining up. That vote is not going into the right spot. Now, the great thing is we don't need a unanimous vote. We just need to win more than we lose. So, I have, how many times do we eat per week? I guess 7 days times 3 meals, 21 plus snacks, right? So if I win 20 out of 21, I'm doing good. That's why some people will give themselves a cheat meal once a week, but not go completely crazy, because they're still winning. So the goal is to give yourself more votes with the actions and the habits you're doing that's reinforcing who you are, who you want to become. Let me put it that way. Who do you want to become? Okay, so each action, right, your habits contribute most of the evidence that shape your identity, okay? By building these habits, you're becoming yourself. You're becoming the person you want to become. And it is a gradual evolution, not a get rich overnight quick, not lose 50 pounds by tomorrow, right? That's not what this is. It's a gradual evolution, but done consistently over time. Now you've started automating something, and every time you automate something, now you can do a new intentional action on top of it. And that's what we're going to talk about with habit stacking. So more on the how-to. Before we get to that, each time you do something, right? Each time you write a new blog, you're reinforcing that you're a writer, or you're an educator, or you're an online content creator. Hi, Luna. Thanks for showing up today, baby. Every time you practice the guitar, you're reinforcing that you're a musician, right? Every time you go for a walk, you're reinforcing that you're an athlete. Every time that you encourage your team, you are reinforcing the fact that you're a leader, okay? So every time you take an action, you're doing something that's reinforcing the person you want to become, the person you've identified, the identity of who you want to become. Hi, Luna, you can lay down, baby. Okay. With that, what happens is with each action, it's like a little tiny win, right? W-I-N. We win a little bit each day. And with each one of those wins, you learn to trust yourself a little bit more. And that's really important because when you start to trust yourself, you start to believe that, hey, I am this person. Again, it's reinforcing. It's both and. It's not just your actions and it's not just your mindset. I told you guys this last week when we were talking about, hi, Luna, again, she's going to sit on the shelf. Instagram can't see her on the shelf. So thanks for keeping me company. All right. So there she is. All right. So it's a both and. It's not just go out and do the actions and just pound through it and pound through it and pound through it because you won't have success there. It's not just sit in the room and pretend and I believe I am this person and I believe I am a millionaire and money's going to fall from the sky. Both and. What I want you to see is the direction that it goes. I want you to start from the inside out of your identity. So here's how you're going to do it. It's simple. It's 2 steps. You're going to decide who you want to become. You can't become the person if you haven't decided who you're going to become. I want you to decide who you're going to become, okay? I want you to write it down. I want you to go back and look at the things that you've written down so far. Okay, we'll talk about that here in just a minute. And then the second step is you're going to prove to yourself that you are that person by simply winning one thing in that area a day and by focusing on one thing at a time. Okay, now as we move more into this week, we're going to talk specifically about how do you change your behaviors, like specifics, like how do I change a habit? How do I do habit stacking? How do I create more positive habits in my life? We're going to get more into that, okay? But today, the focus is decide who you want to become, and then your goal is to prove that every day with some small action that it's a small win for that day. Okay, so I am an athlete. I'm someone who works out every day. That's my new core identity. That means all I have to do is go outside and walk for 5 minutes. And guess what? If I walk for 5, is it likely that I'll walk for more? Yes, and so that's some of the tips and tricks we'll talk about. So if you're not sure who you want to become, because that's a big question, who do I want to become? You can start with the result. So you can start with, well, I want to lose 20 pounds. All right, well, what type of person would do that, right? What type of person? You want to write a book. What type of person would write a book and be successful at it? Probably somebody who's really consistent and reliable, right? Somebody wants to lose 20 pounds, also consistent and reliable, makes healthy choices. So you start getting down to some core values. Okay, I'm a person who always shows up. I'm a person who's reliable. I'm a person that can be counted on. I'm a person who is consistent. Do you see would you see where we're getting at the core of your beliefs, of your empowering beliefs, of your identity? Who do you want to become? And I'll even say it this way, who must you become so that you can live your best life ever? Okay, so you can think of it. You can think of the question like, well, what would a healthy person do? What decision would they make? If you're working on your health and your fitness, what would a healthy person do? Would they take the stairs instead of the elevator? They'd order the salad instead of the French fries, right? Or maybe they'd order the salad and the French fries, but not the dessert. we can start off. The salad is still a big win, putting that at the beginning. Okay, a person who is healthy would drink water instead of soda. So what would a healthy person do? I am a healthy person. What would a healthy person do? That can start guiding your behavior so that you have the wins. But do you see, it starts with the identity. I want to become a person that, my health and my vitality is better 10 years than it is today. Okay? What happens then is you create a feedback loop. And I promise we are wrapping up right now. So we create a feedback loop. We'll talk about that more later this week. But I really want to empower you because you do have the power. You have a choice every day in who you're becoming. You become your habits, and those habits are going to be based on the identity that you want to grow into, the person you want to become. Like I said, so that you're the best version of yourself for the people around you, for your work, for your business, for your community, for whatever it is, right? It's not selfishly, it's living your best life so you can impact others. So here's your action step for today as we wrap up. Who do you want to become? Write it down. Figure out one of the core values that you want to focus on, okay? What do you want to stand for? What are your principles? What are the core values? What do you want to be known as? I mean, think you can go really deep and go, okay, it's your funeral, right? And somebody's standing up and they're talking about the type of person and the life you lived and who you were at, your identity, your character, your beliefs, right? What are those things that you would want said? That's who you want to become. We're going to grow into that by changing and shifting habits. And we're going to talk, like I said, more about that this week. But I want you to think about, okay, well, I'm the kind of, dentist. I'm a dentist and I want to focus on my business. I'm the type of dentist who always is patient with my patients, right? I give them enough time and I give them enough empathy. I'm a teacher who always advocates for my students. I'm a business owner who has success and is able to give back to my community in this specific way. I'm the type of person who works out every day. I'm an athlete. I'm a writer. I am a musician. I'm the type of person who's reliable and consistent. We talked about that one. I'm the type of person who shows up for my own life. Fundamentals is the number one F word of life, right? The fundamentals. If you're not showing up for your life, start with that one. If you want to just adopt one that we've talked about today, I am the type of person that shows up for my life. Okay, does that habit that you're doing support or not support the type of person that shows up for their life, right? I'm not a morning person doesn't mean, right, that you're showing up for your life. We've got to shift those beliefs. So your action step is to write them down. Who do you want to become? Go back to your vision that you wrote. If you wrote your 10-year vision, go back and reread that. Add to it. Add these core values. Add these principles. Who do you want to become? Who must you become to make that vision true? And then, like I said, as we go on this week, later we're going to talk about specifics and habits. We've gone a little bit longer today than normal, but I was super excited to share all of this with you. I pray that it has been of value. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be here, to work on yourself, to find ways to be the best version of yourself so that you can live your best and highest life, so that you can impact other people and be the best version of you for everyone around you. So I'm proud of you for showing up. I'm proud of you for taking time out of yourself. If you're doing this now as a daily practice and you're joining me live or on the replay, remember, put hashtag replay in the comments if you've watched the replay, so I know that you're watching. Put a comment or a takeaway. Just say, hi, Brenda, that was awesome. Or Brenda, that was, I got confused at this part. You can give me feedback. But show up, right? Show up and join me in working on you for 20, 30, today's closer to 45 minutes. But you're worth it. And again, I'm proud of you for showing up. I appreciate you showing up and spending this time with me. It's always an honor to be your coach, be your trainer, provide these trainings and tools. Let me know how today went for you, and I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We might be on air a little bit earlier tomorrow. I might be going on about 4:30. I'll send a note out on social so that you guys know when to join live, but that's also another reminder, turn on your notifications, especially on Facebook. Hit the little 3 buttons right next to the F Words of Life by Brenda Reynolds on one of the live videos or the video replays, and it'll bring it on a drop-down menu. And if you click enable live notifications or something like that, it'll turn on the live notifications. Same thing on Instagram, just turn on your notifications. You'll get a notification if you're a follower of mine. You do have to follow on Insta, I think, to get the notification. But like I said, because all the replays are housed on Facebook, I encourage you to follow me on Facebook and turn that notification on live on Facebook, because even if you can't join me live, that'll be your reminder that you got new content up and you can watch it while you're taking your walk. You don't actually have to watch these if you just want to listen. If you have a long commute, you can listen to these on your commute. Just don't pick up your phone. Just hit play like you would on a podcast, and you can listen to the audio only. You can do the exercises once you're stationary. So if you've got an appointment, throw in your earbuds while you're waiting around at the doctor's office or the dentist and listen to these. These are for you. And so with that, my friend, I say good night to you, and I'll see you live tomorrow. Today was Monday with the F Words of Life. I am Brenda Reynolds, and I'll see you live every day this week as we wrap up week 4 of the F Words Reset, which is really all about shifting your mindset and your habits. So again, you are living your best possible life by becoming the best version of yourself. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.